Hi guys. Hey, happy Mother's Day. Hey, come here. Hi, I got a question. Larry. Larry's mother had 4 children. Their names were North, South, and West. What was her other child's name?
East.
No, it's Larry.
Seriously?
Larry's mother? Nah. Happy Mother's Day. I'm going to be in trouble. Yeah. Happy Mother's Day. So, just a couple thoughts for you. I won't take up very long. Just wanted to say hey. And once again, I think I've said this a lot, but I'm going to say it again. Hopefully sometime pretty soon, we're going to be all back together. But I wanted to send a message and a shout out to say, hope you're having a good week. Getting ready to start another brand new week, and hope you guys are doing good. I sure miss seeing everybody. And I want to share a scripture. I thought, we've read this before, I think maybe not too long ago in youth group, but in Luke in chapter 2, there's a story about Jesus and an encounter that he had with his mother and his father too. It's a passage we've talked about before, but I don't want to read it again because there's something I think we can kind of glean from this. It's in Luke in chapter 2 and start at verse 41. And anyway, this is in the New English version, I think, and it says, every year his parents went to Jerusalem for the feast of the Passover. When he was 12 years old, they went up to the feast according to the custom. After the feast was over, while his parents were riding home, the boy Jesus stayed as they traveled on for a day. Then they began looking for him among their relatives and friends. And when they did not find him, they went back to Jerusalem to look for him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple courts, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. Everyone who heard him was amazed at his understanding and his answers. When his parents saw him, they were astonished. His mother said to him, "Son, why have you treated us like this? Your father and I have been anxiously searching for you." "Why were you searching for me?" he asked. "Didn't you know I'd be about my father's house, my father's business?" But they did not understand what he was saying to them. Then he went down to Nazareth and was with them and was obedient to them. But his mother treasured all these things in her heart. And Jesus grew in wisdom and stature with God, in stature and in favor with God and with men. Okay, so this is an encounter that Jesus had with his folks, with his mom, his earthly mother, when he was 12 years old. So now some of you guys, a lot of you guys are somewhere around 12, plus or minus a year or two. So at 12, he's Rayleigh's age. He goes on this journey. They go to Jerusalem, and then they get ready to go back, and they travel back, and they get part of the way back, and they figure out Jesus is not with them. They travel a whole day. And then they start looking around for Jesus. Now, put yourself in Mary's shoes as his mother. Not only is Jesus her son and her child, but remember, God had visited their special circumstances. She knew this is God's son, and she lost him. You know, there was a panic. They started asking their relatives. They started asking everybody around, "Do you have Jesus? Have you seen Jesus?" Because sometimes the men would travel separately from the ladies. They look around, all of their relatives, they couldn't find him. Couldn't find Jesus at all. So they make this frantic trip. "You guys go on. We got to go back and find him. Got to find our son." We go back to Jerusalem. They start looking for him, and they look, and after 3 days, they found him. They find him in the temple. They find Jesus, and he's sitting there talking to the elders in the pitfall. He's not concerned. And Mary says something to him. Now here, she says to him, "What are you doing? Why did you do this to us?" And Jesus says, "Why did you look for me? Didn't you know that this is what I'd be doing? I'd be doing my Father's work. Didn't you know that?" And it says, but they did not understand what he was saying to them. They went down to Nazareth, and he was obedient to them. So here's my thing. Okay, let's say that you're 10, 11, 12-ish, 15, or 39, or something like that. You ever have a feeling, you look at your mom, you look at your dad, but especially since it's Mother's Day, you look at your mom, and you try to talk to her about what's going on in your life, or she asks you, or, you know, and you ever look at her and go, "You just don't get me." Well, maybe y'all never done that. You don't understand what I'm going through. You don't understand what I'm doing. You don't understand what I'm up to. Thing is, Jesus knows what it feels like, and literally, Mary really didn't understand what he was up to. She really didn't get him. when they found Jesus sitting there, that's the first thing she says. She says, well, why did you do this to us? And when Jesus answers to her, he says, this is where it should be. And it says they didn't understand. They didn't understand what he was doing. They didn't understand what he said. Literally, Joseph and Mary, they didn't get it. They didn't get Jesus. Our folks we're a lot different, because Mary, Jesus, that's a once in all of history, all of eternity thing. But still, yeah, that's been going on since there have been mothers and children trying to figure out and trying to get all on the same page. Jesus knows what it feels like. Jesus did something very, very interesting, though. Even though he knew that Mary didn't really understand where he was coming from, but he goes back with them. He didn't stay in the temple. He get back in the caravan, not a Dodge Caravan, like I got a caravan, They get in the caravan and they go back home. And for the rest of his time growing up, he is subject to them. He just obeys them. He just does what they said. Obviously, Jesus didn't do anything that was sinful. They didn't require him to do anything that was sinful. But think about it. As Jesus is growing up, whether he's 9 or now he's 12 or then he's 15 or whatever like that, and Mary says, Jesus, can you take out the trash? It's your turn. The Son of God, the creator of all of the universe, carrying out the trash. Peel these potatoes. He created potatoes. There Jesus says, peeling potatoes. It's amazing to think of what Jesus did for us. But it's also, it is such an awesome thing that God takes his Son, and it's hard to wrap our head around that. I understand that. That we can't really understand that relationship. But God's Son Jesus, and he entrusts him in human bodily form to not some kind of political scientist or a psychiatrist or somebody that's got a high amount of education or something, but just to Mary that he entrusted, that when the angel came and said, you're going to have a son, and his son's going to be the Son of God, the Holy Spirit's going to move over you, and you're going to have a son, and God lets you know, that's going to be my son, and I'm going to entrust him to you. That shows the value that God invests in motherhood. And Jesus compliments that so much, because he goes back and he just does what they say. Whether it's take out the trash or do some menial task or whatever it is, Jesus just does what they say. And it's such a beautiful picture of how families are supposed to work. Jesus pays great tribute to his mother, not only here, by being obedient to her, living with her, even though he's the Son of God. And even on the cross, even when it comes to being nailed to the cross, and Jesus is there, he's literally in the last moments of his human life, he's dying. He's fixed to give his life on the cross. He's nailed to a cross. He's in incredible pain. He's got literally the weight of the sin of all the world, mine and yours and the whole world, is on his shoulders. But one of the things that he does is he takes care of his mother. He tells John, you take care of her. And he asks her, let John take care of you. He wants to make sure that Mary is well cared for. That is beautiful. That's awesome. God gave his mothers for such a beautiful task, and it's a huge task. There are a lot of big careers, or a lot of things that people can do in the world, that women can do in the world, but none are more important than being a wife, being a mother, and that part of working in the family. Same thing for the fathers too. Father's Day is coming. We'll be reminded of that too. The most important task that a father can do is be a father to his children. And the same thing with the woman, to be a mother to the children, and to teach them and to nurture them and make sure that they come up with that relationship with God. And one of the things that we also need to remember from this is that Mary's not perfect. That even though God picked her out, knowing that he could entrust Jesus with her, she wasn't perfect. She didn't get Jesus. She didn't understand, even with what the angel told her. Still, she's just not for sure. She still doesn't understand exactly what's going on with Jesus. That's just a reminder, just a glimpse, that mothers are not perfect. If you haven't already done it, and I know that probably everyone of you done this, tell your mom Happy Mother's Day. Tell your mom that you love her. not only tell her that you love her, make sure that you show her. Make sure that you show her that you love her. Make sure that you let her know how much you appreciate the sacrifice, all of the things that she does for you. And don't expect her to be perfect. There are going to be times that maybe she doesn't understand you. There's going to be times that maybe she doesn't understand a dream or a problem or this, something that you got going on. She's not perfect. And she'll make really good choices. And she may make some bad choices. She's not perfect. She needs forgiveness too. Be sure and take the time today to say, Mom, I love you. Yesterday, had this experience. I suggest husband. So my sister hurt her hand. She got her hand caught up in a drill, and she broke a finger there, and she really messed up this one and dislocated her finger and all of that. And so my mom called. She said your sister hurt her hand. So we dashed out to the emergency room with all the virus stuff going on. We couldn't go in there and be with her, and it about killed her to be out in the parking lot waiting to hear how she was doing. So we waited out there for a pretty good long while with her husband Steve, and we waited there with her. And finally, she had her hand all wrapped up, and you pray for her. She may have to have surgery and stuff. But watching how tender she is with her. And my sister, now, she's not 12. She's 56. She'd love me telling you that. I know she would. Her name's Georgia, if you haven't met her. She's 56. But my mom was just as tender and just as concerned and in tears not because she was hurt, but because her daughter was hurt. And she felt that pain. And just watching her interact with her, I mean, I was concerned, believe me, for her as a sister, because there's something special about a mother's love. And that touched me. It really did. Make sure you tell your mom that you love her. Make sure and thank God that He designed motherhood. There are a lot of mothers, some folks, for whatever situation, they don't have a mother. They don't have a mother in their life for lots of different reasons that come up. Sometimes for illness and death and different things, but also for, bad choices and different things that happen. And sometimes God has another person to serve in that role that can love and sacrifice in that role of motherhood. Be thankful for people that do that. Tell your mom that you love her. Okay? Do that. Hopefully we're going to be back together soon. You guys have a good week this week. Now let's see. Now if we're in youth group, it's almost 6 o'clock. If we were a youth group and we'd have to have snacks, guess what I got today? It's not like stale molded Fritos. My wife made cupcakes, and you know what? I'm ready to try this one right here. It's chocolate, got white icing, and in the fridge, I got some milk. I think I'm gonna go get that. Okay? You guys have a good week. Gonna go get my milk.